Hello, hello. Welcome to everyone who is here in the stream. I see Cedra Honnet says, "Am I all alone? Where is
What
Kitty?"
took you so long?
Somebody's raiding me. It's Siobhan the Rider. Thank you for raiding. I appreciate that. And if you heard that voice, it's someone else would, voiced by John McNally, and he said, "What took you so long?" Because you guys raided me. I appreciate that raid. I never got raided before. Thank you. Yes, Cedra Honnet thought she was all alone, but now there is Siobhan the Rider, Moonflower Rights, RPGDinosaurBob is here. Thank you guys for joining me. I am so glad. Welcome to the stream. It is another reading stream because I have a lot to do, a lot of reading to do for these great leaders of their people. And you guys were very busy writing 325 articles. Moonflower says, "Have to stay on mute today, but will boost viewers." Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Moonflower. I appreciate you lurking for that. Artgalles says, "Salutations, first-time viewer. I appreciate you joining me. Thank you. And if I pronounced your name wrong, please let me know."
Obligatory associate.
RPGDinosaurBob, thank you for following me. Cedar Honnet says, "I has coffee. The life is better." That is, I know how it is sometimes. I personally don't drink coffee, but a lot of people, if they don't have their coffee, that's it. Once you have your coffee, everything's great, and that's awesome. I'm glad you have it. World Keymaster says, "Hello, everyone. World Keymaster can't stay today, working, but I want to wish good luck on the reading and good time zone." Thank you just for stopping by to say that, World Keymaster. I pray you have an awesomely spectacular, wonderful day, and I know you do have to work, so much success with that as well. Artgalles said, "Got the name spot on." Great. RPGDinosaurBob says, "Coffee is life. The coffee must flow." And Dream Cartographer is here, arrived in time for obligatory notification. Awesome. Dream Cartographer, thank you for joining us today. Yeah, so a lot of exciting things have happened. Some of you might not know, but I've recently become an affiliate on Twitch, which is awesome. And I know that means that some of you might see ads sometimes, and I apologize for that. But if you would like an ad-free experience, then you are encouraged to subscribe. But if not, I try to still help. If you got caught in an ad, I will recap what I said and stuff like that. Artgalles says, "Prefer tea so much I renamed myself Tea." Yes, you sound like my brother, Josephine. He appears sometimes. He loves tea as well. Cedar Honnet says, "Commercial of kid eating hamburger. Mom would have smacked me for being messy." So just when I was talking about commercials, I'm sure you just saw a commercial. Thank you for enduring those. That's what comes with being an affiliate, unfortunately. But I'm glad that you're hanging in there and enjoying the commercials as well. Just came out of an ad, says Dream Cartographer, perfect timing. Wow, so yeah, there's supposed to be a thing where I'm supposed to see when the ads come, and for some reason it's not working, so I'm like still talking until everybody starts telling me there's an ad. So I'm gonna try to work to get that fixed so that I can know that there's a commercial break, and during that commercial break I can do something special for those who are subscribed, and then when everybody else comes back I can still recap. Cedra says, "Tea is for the afternoon with cucumber sandwich and little cakes." Yes, dainty. So yes, without further ado, we should get into this because I have a lot to do, and I have not really even calculated how many I have left. But I know it's like probably still over 300. So it looks like I've done 59. Or either, like, so some of them were access denied, unfortunately. Some of them were they didn't want me to read them on stream. I still read them. But I just didn't read them on stream. They didn't want me to read them aloud on stream, so I didn't. Byzantinian, I'm sorry, I always get this name wrong. Byzantian 13, I think. Byzantian 13 says, "Hi all, I am for short. Later have work meeting." I understand, but thank you so much for stopping by when you can. Much success to your work meeting, and I do pray you have a blessed day. So whenever you need to drop out, feel free. These streams have been going overtime as well because I have so many articles to get through. So, without further ado, if you are in the chat and you are present and you would like me to go over your article, please drop your World Anvil username down in the chat below, and I will try to get to your article right away while you are here in case you have to drop out for any reason. So go ahead and drop those usernames if you would like me to go over your article. If I already went over your article before, that's great. If I did not yet, feel free to drop that username. I do have a lot of things on this spreadsheet. And some people have granted me permission, but some people I want them to, be present. Some people told me that they will not be present. So I can go over those if nobody's in chat currently. But I do see Artgalles has put in their name. And there is a character called Josephine Slande. Hopefully that's the correct pronunciation. And I'm going to put this in the chat so that everybody can go and follow that link and find Josephine Slande so that they can read along. And there may be some, links in the article that I cannot go over because I'm short on time. But feel free to click all around the world and figure out more about it, even if I cannot cover everything here. I see Gortius has joined the chat. Thank you so much, a first-time viewer. I appreciate you stopping by. Barriesaxxy is here. And yes, thank you for joining as well. Yes, so you were here and you would like me to read your article as well. I will get to it right after Josephine Slande. Corsair Liberator Josephine Liberator Slande. He, him, his. Please let me know if I'm mispronouncing anything. He is known as one of the most influential pirates in recent years. He was one of the many fleets that found the Slande archipelago. During the War of the Flying Baron, he united the fleets beneath him to take on a dragon, tyrannical and furious. With his skill, cunning, and tactical, he led the fleet to victory. But fearing the dragon's allies coming, they hid in the remains, which became the settlement of Dragon's Bay. And there's a link to that. And later his tomb after passing on. He wrote the Pirate's Code and created the title of the Corsair Liberator, link to that, in case any strife would occur in free pirate seas. After his death, he remained in his tomb, allowing anyone to commune with him through necromancy during the conflict. He's born a woman, so he assumed male. We'll see what else. Oh, it's not too long. Born in the settlement of Saline against the coast of the Salt Spires. And there's links to all these things, which is great. He, from a young age, found it natural to work hard. He always dreamed of a life free from the confines of the strict and tyrannical rules that kept him and his family poor. This all eventually changed when he signed aboard a merchant ship and sailed along the eastern coasts of the known world. Life on the ship didn't treat him much better. He was still poor and now suffering from scurvy, but at least he got to travel. He sailed these coasts until upon the year 159, when the merchant's vessel was under attack by a swashbuckler of the Siren Kisser, which that is also linked. They offered him a life of freedom without dictators he could not refuse, and spent a few years. He eventually left during the course of the dragon attack which he united multiple crews together to defeat the scaled tyrant. During this battle, he stumbled into the Slande archipelago, which at the time was undiscovered, later to be named after him. He and his fleet in the dragon founding Dragon's Bay, where he created the pirate code. The discovery of the Slande archipelago and creation of the pirate code are his achievements and accomplishments. So there's a lot of sidebar. So a lot of times, thank you for sharing this article. A lot of times I will say that the content is longer than the sidebar. But in these rare occasions, the sidebar ends up a little bit longer than the contents. So in this case, I would suggest to just maybe put, I see there's like Dragon's Bay. You can put article blocks in the content. And you can also put pictures. I don't know if this is pictures of the character or if this is just a background that is over your whole world. But yes, you could put art of the character in the main body, or you can put, you know, links to, I mean, not just links, because links are short and small, but like article blocks just to take up some space, or you can add quote boxes or something like that. But I do know that all these are summer camp articles, and a lot of people were rushing during summer camp. So as long as the article reached 300 words and it was like able to be submitted, a lot of people just pressed submit and thought, I can get back to it later. Well, at least that's what I did, and I ended up not being able to get back to it later, but that's fine. So I totally understand. This was an interesting article, very short and to the point, and it had links to those things that we are not familiar with, which is great. So my only, oh, I see, that has some art as well. My only comment also would be, I don't see, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see any credits to the art. The art looks interesting. It looks like somebody drew it, and I don't know who drew it. And even this world cover, I don't know where that is from. So I don't see any credits to the art. So if this is your art, or if this is somebody else's art, it's great to credit them. Artgalles says, still need to draw him. Okay, that's understandable. Yes, if you need to draw the character, that's fine. So like I said, that's just suggestions of what you can do to fill up the page a bit more after you're done drawing. But yes, other than that, very comprehensive article. And some of the wording, like, I like how it said, take on a dragon, tyrannical and furious. Like that kind of, it's like that storyteller flavor. It's pretty neat. It could maybe use some commas in some places, but like I said, those kinds of little errors are to be expected. But thank you so much for sharing this article. It was very neat to read through. Now we have Gortius, I believe, was next. Oh wait, I see RPGDinosaurBob says you can do mine now. I got 45 minutes. Oh yes, and he was right before Gortius. So I'm going to hurry up and do RPGDinosaurBob while you're here, so that you can go along your merry way, because I don't want you to have to leave soon. Okay, so this one is Caleran Seacastle? If I pronounced it wrong, please correct me. Let's see. Caleran Seacastle, I believe. Artgalles says, I used to do many commas, so I corrected it into the negative. That's fine too, yes. Sometimes it's like there's an extreme. If you have commas everywhere and then somebody says something about it, and then you're like, okay, let me take out all the commas, and then you take out too many commas. So there's a medium there, and yeah, but that's totally fine. You just may need somebody to go over it and with like an editing eye, but not too harsh of an editor, you know, just a regular scan for where maybe a comma might be. And I'm sure also in the World Anvil Discord, there's lots of people, if you tag writers, they will like to read over your work, and they can help you out as well. Caleran, I think, Caleran, says RPGDinosaurBob. All right, Caleran Seacastle. Okay, I have posted that link in the chat so you guys can read along. Caleran Seacastle, more often referred to as Caleran Argenthair, is one of the most significant human figures in the history of Cartirian. Yeah, so Artgalles says, I got an editor, a friend Bean, who's helping with it overall, but first I have a lot to work on, of course. And you said, thank you for reading it. No problem. Thank you for sharing it. Dream Cartographer says, this article has a nice font. Yes, this is a nice font. So let's see. He is recognized by all as the person who brought together the forces that defeated the faithful of the gods of coercion and brought to an end the great strife. Yes, Cartirian, says RPGDinosaurBob. Alright, so I like how there's a link to these things because I don't know what the Great Strife is. So it's great that there's links to these things. Life and times. Early life. The Great Strife had been raging across Cartirian for 39 years when Caleran was born. He was the third child born to High Sovereign Anazel Seacastle and her consort Egon Whitmore. His elder brothers Anagan and Alterin were twins. It was always presumed that one of the elder twins, most likely Anagan, would succeed Anazel on the throne of the First Kingdom. While the two were being educated and groomed to rule the lands, Caleran was free to pursue other things. He was always devout, so it was little surprise when he announced he was entering the priesthood of the church to the Humanar. Humanar? This predates the schism that would result in the church taking on the name True Church to distinguish it from offshoots. Caleran's plans for a life of quiet service to the gods were interrupted, however, by the deaths of his two brothers, as they led armies against the Aurochs that were attempting to invade the kingdom along its western borders. At the age of 34, Caleran found himself to be heir apparent, and 2 years later, when his mother died, he was expected to assume the throne. Shortly before the Yule holidays, in the year 36 BCR, Caleran was formally crowned. He found himself ruling a kingdom in turmoil. Forces made up of followers of the gods of coercion were assailing the kingdom from several sides. The kingdom was holding its own, as it had been for the 70 years, since the war came to the kingdom's borders. The enemy was not winning, but neither was the kingdom. Caleran decided that it was his destiny to see the war ended. So yes, I'm going to stop here just to show this little bit that I've been talking about in some of the streams. And yeah, I see this article is quite long, so I might skim a bit. So see how the sidebar is nice and cute and it's purple and it looks good. I like the CSS on this as well. But one of the things about it is the fact that once the sidebar ends here, then RPGDinosaurBob has used a full width footer to make the rest of the words under here so that it's not just an empty, naked sidebar with nothing in it. That's one of the tips that I was giving some of the people. If you can't stretch the sidebar, you can also stretch the words under where the sidebar ends so that the page looks fuller and it doesn't look like there's just a blank space there. So we're going to skim a bit. And it looks like there was a war. and he tried to reach out to other rulers in ongoing struggles, but nothing significant came until 5 years after his coronation. After the God War, the struggles finally ended when the gods themselves finally defeated and imprisoned those of their own number that had been responsible for whipping up the frenzy of their worshippers. But with the troublemakers locked away, the struggles on Carterian soon ended. But while the fighting may have stopped, the monumentally scaled devastation that over 100 years of war had brought were still everywhere. Caleran convinced Elev and Duagan that their wartime alliance was just as necessary during the rebuilding period after the war. They agreed, and together the folk of the lands around the Inner Sea were able to restore their lands and livelihoods faster than anywhere else. He was called to join the deities at 121 years old, remarkably old for a human, and a sure sign that he had been blessed and protected. After his death, I guess, the spirit of cooperation that he had maintained began to dwindle, fueled mainly by zealous priests of the Church of the Humanar. So it would be difficult to find any citizen of the First Kingdom who does not know Caleran's name and story. So he became a very prominent figure in history. The true Church of the Humanar has a love-hate relationship with the memory of Caleran. He is too well revered and loved for the Church to reject him outright, but over the years, the human-centric mindset that began to poison Caleran's alliance shortly after his death has only gotten stronger. The Church attempts to teach that Caleran's victories came not because he allied with the non-humans, but because he was devout and faithful to the Humanar gods. This is an interesting world. A lot of world building here. So I see a lot of crediting as well. This is very nice. And I know that this is from a game, RPGDinosaurBob. So this is really nice article. I like the art and I like how everything's credited. The page is not too much. It doesn't have too much art. It doesn't even have a picture of any of the characters. But it's still nice, neat, clean. It has little icons here. And it's just a nice layout. The colors are nice. The font is nice. And the CSS is nice, but it's not like too much. It's not too much. It's obvious that you did use some CSS, but it's not at all too much. And as you said, pictures to come. That's right. So it's like these articles, they always can use sprucing up. You can always add to it, but it is great how it is. I personally think that this format is really neat. So thank you so much for sharing this article with us. Next, it was Gortius, I believe. So we are going to find... never mind, I have to reload because of these cells. There we are. Minoas. RPGDinosaurBob says thank you for the reading. Thank you for sharing. So Gortius, if you are still present in the chat, we can go over your article next. And I'm going to drop that link so that you guys can all go to the article and read along if you would like to. Because like some of these are longer, on the longer side, and I might have to skim through them in order to get through many articles. And also, there are lots of other links and things in the articles for things that are interesting that you should want to click around. And Gortius is here. So as we see, this is in a different language. So we are going to use translate to English. And yes, I do know that Google Translate is not the best translation tool out there, but the convenient thing about it is that you can just do it and instantly, ping, bada bing, bada boom, the article has turned into English. Now, I do know, yes, Gortius says they are still here and it is in Spanish. But that's okay, because I just used the translation tool in my browser, and now the words are magically English. That means some of it might not translate properly, which is something I like to call good dubs, because they're really not good dubs. But it's okay. I believe that I should be able to get the gist of the article, and hopefully it doesn't, it does your article justice enough. If something is kind of confusing, feel free to shout it out in the chat. If the translation doesn't go as you would like it to. So Minoas, the leader of the Didyma Amygdala revolt. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Minoas Contolis, aka the Madman. Broadly speaking, Minoas was the leader of what was known as the Didyma Amygdala revolt, a native of the islands north of New Vathi, who, thanks to his charisma and military ability as a young man, quickly and unofficially rose through the ranks of power in the pair of islands until his xenophobia went to his head, and after a referendum unsuccessful, he led a violent revolt against the authority of the Nunat Republic. He died as the last man to defend the independence of Didyma Amygdala. So, personal history. Minoas was born the son of a wealthy local landowner who fell into disgrace for opposing the revolution. When he was born, his father was already very old, about to die, in fact. He was there when he had Minoas. What little he learned from his father marked him for life, eventually determining his end as well. Thanks to his charisma and military ability when he was young, he quickly and unofficially rose through the ranks of power in the pair of islands until his xenophobia went to his head, and after a failed referendum, he led a violent revolt against the authority of the Nunat Republic, which was eliminated after the intervention of the Kantu clan army, navally invaded the capital, and dealt the final blow in battle of the Bloody Fields, in which Minoas died as the last man who defended their cause. So that's interesting. Minoas was educated mostly on the streets of Aristopia, and as an adult he applied to the local militia, which, thanks to his physical tributes, charisma, and leadership skills, quickly rose through the ranks, and was able to study enough to read and write with little else with the money he had made for the militia. His achievements is a rapid and solid rise in the military ranks. So it's obvious that he really went through those ranks really fast, and he leveled up very fast. Failures and humiliations betray the will of his people and directly harm his people due to his selfish revolt. Being defeated on the battlefield and displaying a terrible lack of tact in indiscriminately sinking ships from other islands. Ooh. So he sounds like he was a good leader at a time, but he betrayed his people due to his selfish revolt. Despite what he had learned from his father during his childhood, his death has been affecting Minoas from a young age. His father was the only person he fully trusted. So that's sad. He lost his father at an early age, so he has trust issues for other people. Gortius said, yeah, I tried to fulfill as many fields as I could. Yeah, I know how that is. A lot of times I'm just like, I don't know what to write. I need 300 words. Just start typing. Go to the prompts. Type. And then some of it is redundant. But it's okay because it's summer camp. And the goal is to get 300 words and put it on there. So that was great. Minoas was simply xenophobic. He believed that a territory belonged to the integrated natives of the place, who formed an inseparable community, in which if a stranger was included, that community would cease to be the same, and he had lost his right to his place. Therefore, it was necessary to purge his home of foreigners. So yeah, his xenophobia seemed to have gotten the best of him. I think he was a bit extreme with that, and that probably contributed to his downfall. So it says the idea of women with as much freedom and rights as men disgusted him, I guess. So I guess that was a taboo that he, it says her here. I believe it means him. So that is another thing about him. So even though he's a great leader, he was a great leader of his people, that doesn't mean he was perfect. And it seems that he did have some flaws. And so one of his virtues and personal qualities was charisma. Vices and defects was egocentricism. So obviously he was kind of egotistical, I guess, and he yeah, had some issues. But it's interesting to see all the leaders, and not just all those leaders that are just so perfect. There are leaders that have flaws, and there are leaders that were good at a time, and yet, you know, they did have something that contributed to their downfall. He had two different goals during his life, last being the independence of his native archipelago of the Nueces Islands. And to achieve them, he never cared about relating to people, only to take advantage of them. In fact, during the last years of his life, all of his relationships had a reason to exist, and when the reason disappeared, Minoas planned to cut ties with those people. So he became rich from his salaries and bonuses and connections. So yeah, that is an interesting character. And there are good descriptions in the sidebar. I will note that, like you said, you were just trying to, you know, fill out as much as you can. And so, yeah, that was good. And barriesaxxy says you still did well, Gortius. That's correct. You did do well. That was, even though, yes, I know that I'm not getting the best out of the article because I'm not reading it in native tongue or using a proper translator. I see some guy says I want to read it in original Spanish. It just had an interaction where a mistranslation completely just destroyed the understanding. I understand. So if you do see, I will post it again. If you want to read this in the native Spanish, please click this article in the link. Because yes, that may not have done the article justice, but still, I appreciate the article, and I do see that even though he was a great leader of his people, he did have a flaw, and this article clearly does point out that he did let things get to his head, and that contributed to his downfall. So thank you so much for sharing this article. The only thing I would suggest is maybe lengthening this sidebar. And I know since it is translated, I can't comment much on the structure, even though this seemed to be pretty good and it didn't have too many grammar errors still. But I know that any grammar errors that may be there is probably because of the translation. So you're all good. This was a good, interesting article. And thank you so much for sharing it. Gortius says thanks for everything. So yes, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Next, there is, I saw somebody else here. barriesaxxy, yes, there we go. We will go to barriesaxxy's article. Okay, Nina Ko. Nina Ko or Nina Cho? I'm not sure. I think it's Ko. And we are going to post that in the chat so that you guys can read along with me, or use these to go over later and click through. So let us go to Nina Co, I believe. If I'm pronouncing anything wrong, please let me know. Nina Co was a Mermish woman born in Breck in the 4th century, famously known for her ability to communicate in multiple languages. While all Mermish have a natural gift for water, Nina was
Obligatory associate.
Hi! Somebody else has followed me. Thank you so much for following Maltacray. Dave Aurelius, I believe, has also joined the chat. Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, night, and happy time zone to you, wherever you are. Yes, we are reading articles from the wonderful Animalites, and I'm so glad that you guys could join me. Dream Cartographer says, there's the jump scare mood. Yes, there is a jump scare mood. It's funny. There's other things that he says as well, and some of those things we heard because I got rated earlier today, and that was funny to hear what someone says when I get rated. Also, somebody actually subscribed, and someone said something last night, so that was funny. Lilith says, hello. Barriesaxxy says it's supposed to be velorifictive, like that H in the back of your throat, but I need to run her name through my language phonetics to make sure it works. Some guy asks, is it Arabic or Hebrew based? So yes, it's like Nina Ko, like that. I might not be doing it right. I can't do that. Dave Aurelius said, you said my name? Right, I'm Callyxtus. Callyxtus in World Anvil. Great. Yes, I did get rated Dream Cartographer, and that was so funny, and I appreciate Siobhan the writer for rating me with all their viewers. Yes, so let's go back to Nina Ko. I'm trying to say it, hopefully. I'm not doing a bad job. While all Mermish have a natural gift for water, Nina was believed to also have a natural gift for languages, as she soon was able to communicate in multiple dialects of Mermish as well as minority language, also used in Breck. She was born to a Mermish leader known for her good speaking and expected to take over for her father as an adult. Though documentation is limited, she was also a controversial figure in part because of the interactions with lower-class people living in Breck at the time. It is likely that these political opponents led her to be sold into slavery at the age of 29. Though there is no documentation of major conflicts between humans and Mermish within Breck, as human travelers came from other countries to the island, they had mixed reactions to the Mermish people living there, with many believing the Mermish to be dangerous sirens. It is most likely that Nina was sold to a group of these humans along with other Mermish people to appease humans that were viewed as a threat to Breck, though it is unsure if they believed that the sale of these slaves was intended to make outsiders believe that the sirens were not a threat, or if they were merely intended as political prisoners. Barriesaxxy says her language isn't based in Arabic, but I think this might still be the stand in name. Yes, so there's a portrait here, which is nice. Oh yes, the article's not too long. We can read it. Sold into slavery. Nina, like the other Mermish women in the group, was to have her magic bound and then married to an appropriate man. However, when the outsiders discovered her natural gift for languages, they decided she would better serve them as a translator and navigator. Nina spent the next decade helping her captives in Breck. She negotiated with both the Mermish and human leaders on the island regarding trade and new settlements. This is the most controversial part of her legacy, with some arguing that she betrayed her own people and others saying that she improved diplomatic relations between the groups, like delaying an inevitable war. about 7 years into her captivity, Nina did marry one of her captors. Though human, Carlu Ardetti had spent long hours with Nina learning the Mermish language and studying the Mun religion. Shortly after the marriage, Nina gave birth to a daughter, Sarai. Unlike many other human men who had children with Mermish women, Carlu openly claimed Sarai as his daughter and even gave her his last name, though he raised her speaking Mermish. After 10 years traveling through Breck, the expedition mounted a return, allowing men to return to their families or exhibit the sirens they had captured to broader society. Carlu offered his wife as chief navigator. During the return journey, Nina guided the ships into the path of an underwater volcano. In the chaos that ensued, most of the Mermish captives, along with any children they had, escaped, able to protect themselves magically in the boiling waters. Carlu and Sarai were among them. Nina was not. The refugees made their way to a nearby Bathblast Islands, where they became the people now known as the First Islanders. Carlu raised his daughter among the Mermish and half-born people on the islands as an adult. Sarai became a grand navigator like her mother and led expeditions throughout the Minor Ocean. Nina was never seen again. Most likely she used her magic to protect her husband and child and burned herself out in the process. However, some believe she never died, and she continues to guard the ocean and protect any who choose to live in harmony on her islands. This has earned her the name of the Phoenix of the Ocean. Interesting article. barriesaxxy says that one is definitely a stand-in name. So Bathblast Islands, I guess, was a stand-in name. I do see the half parentheses still there. So I figured there was something going on there. But yes, this was an interesting article. Interesting indeed. Then there's the relationship levels of Nina and her spouse, and I see that it doesn't seem like they were very happy with each other, but of course he was her captor, so that's understandable. Oh, I see Carlu has an article with art, and we have Sarai also. She has an article with art. And I like when family trees are implemented in the page. That's a nice addition. The only thing I would suggest is, of course, to extend this sidebar, adding different maybe some of these things I don't know about. Like we could put it, if you have an article about Mermish, we can put those like in article blocks in the sidebar. Things about Breck, the place that they lived, we could put that in the sidebar as well. So there's a lot of things we can put in the sidebar, including quotes and more art or something like that. But yes, I understand you haven't filled everything in, so it's fine. It's totally fine. This is a summer camp article, but my advice would just be to extend the sidebar and give us a little bit more information about some of these things that we don't know about. But thank you so much for sharing this interesting article. Is art credited? Yes, cover image by Molly Marr, but that's the cover image right here. I don't see credits to the actual art of the character image. So if possible, it would be great to go ahead and credit those. But you don't have to do anything yet, of course. But yeah, that would just be my suggestion. barriesaxxy says, yeah, the sidebar is my goal when we can edit again, but thanks for the advice because I definitely wasn't sure what I wanted to put there. Great. Thank you again for helping me to read, and I'm glad that that was a good advice for you. Because sometimes it is hard. It's like, what do I put in the sidebar? I have no idea. Sidebars here is annoying. But yes, there's great things that we can do. Who's next? We have... barriesaxxy already did barriesaxxy's article. I don't see anybody else. If you are in the chat and you would like me to read your article, please comment your World Animal News username below, because yeah, I don't see it I don't see anybody else's name in the queue. But I may be skipping over it, of course. So please, if you are here and you would like me to read your article, please post in the chat your World Anvil username so that I can read it. Revictor says hello. Hello. And you've posted your World Anvil username, and I appreciate that. I will go to it now. There we are. All right. And this is Maria Stein. Lilith says, I am me. I think you're saying that your username is the same in both places. If so, yep, I will try to get you next. This spreadsheet does not like to cooperate. But here we go. We have put now in the chat Maria Stein. Maria Stein, I believe. Or Stein. I'm not sure. Please correct me if I am wrong. Maria Stein, I'm going to say, until you correct me otherwise. The current owner and the founder of Almost Human Inc. That's interesting. Company which specializes in production of the homunculi, which resemble humans as closely as possible. That's an interesting invention. I would love to know more about that. Is it like a robot or something? Tired of doing housework. Interesting. I would read about that later. Lilith says, I like the plant theme for this one. Yes, the plant theme is nice and cute. Revictor says, it's read like Frankenstein, since her name is a mix between Mary Shelley and Frankenstein. So I get it. Maria Stein. Maria Stein. Makes sense, makes sense. I just did say Stein. So I was right. So it is said that Maria saw someone in her dream, someone that probably doesn't exist in the real world. So instead of despairing and waiting for a person, she decided to apply her knowledge of robotics. As of yet, she hasn't succeeded. So she has pale green eyes, black curly hair tied into a bun, and dark brown skin. Looking at her, one would first guess that she is a car mechanic. Maria is fit, muscular, and often covered with grease and oil. Though, when she knows there will be a meeting that day, she starts to really care about her appearance. One can only guess how it is possible that her muscles simply don't rip apart her suits whenever she tenses up when stressed.
Obligatory associate.
Oh, it's another follower. Thank you, the Tiger Rights, for following me. I appreciate it. When working on homunculi, which I'm still not sure how to pronounce that, she prefers to wear stuff that is easier to move in. She likes to wear sleeveless shirts and cargo pants with many pockets to store wrenches and other tools. I love cargo pants as well. They are so fun to wear, and the pockets are very efficient. I don't know about some of you, but a lot of times girl pockets...
Obligatory associate.
Oh, thank you so much for following, Vasimasti. A lot of girl pockets are like so short or in small, or either they are sewn on and they're fake. I'm like, why are you even making it like that? Just give us real pockets. We can't even fit our phone in our pocket sometimes. At least the pants I buy. I don't know. Some pants I guess are better than others, but cargo pants are great. When the time of the meeting comes, she dresses more professionally, wearing suits and dresses. Maria worked about a year as a clockmaker's apprentice before realizing her talent, planning and constructing complex
Obligatory associate.
Oh, thank you so much for following, Billy Joe. Hello, Billy Joe 21. I appreciate it. Some guy says hashtag stop fake pockets. Vase Massey says, my sister sewed one of her own skirts and she just put a straight up kangaroo pouch in there. That is so cool. I've always wanted to make like clothes and stuff too, because I'm a very crafty person, but I don't do as much with clothes because it's a lot. But I really need to start, but I'm scared that if I really start, then I'm just gonna be making all my clothes, which could be a good thing, but sometimes I'm busy and I don't have time. But it's great. That is awesome. I don't care if it's a kangaroo pouch. I would wear that. Your sister did a great thing. So she was working as a clockwork mechanic. But then she started having dreams of someone she knew she had to find, but also didn't exist in the pit. Not now or not anymore. So there's a link to the pit so we know what the pit is, because I do not know what the pit is. So she decided to build that person. Wow, that's interesting. She had a dream about a person, and she did not know who that was, and she knew they didn't exist and they never existed, so she built them. That is so funny and weird. She started her company. She wanted to create better and better models while searching for that right look that escapes her mind every time she wakes up. That's quite haunting, but I see it's like an interesting dream that she's like, I need to create that thing. I need to recreate that thing that I'm seeing in my dream. This is an interesting character and an interesting story, and it makes me want to learn more about your world. Creation of Almost Human Inc. Company. Creation of Clockwork City, as it originally was originally was only her idea, but later the 4 different companies joined her endeavor. Interesting. Byzantine 13 says, bye for now, I'm entering a meeting. Bye. Thank you for stopping by as well. I appreciate it. Green Cartographer says, very interesting. That is very interesting. This makes me very curious about this whole world. The Call of the Tree. This is an interesting world. I feel like I want to read way more about it. So I have put the link in the chat, and thank you so much again for allowing me to read this article for you. And I appreciate this fun article. And thank you for letting me read it. And I do want to read way more about this world when I can. Thank you, and thank you. You said thank you for reading it. Thank you for sharing it. I have a blessed day to those who are leaving now. But if anybody else is here and has their article that they want me to read, please post your name in the chat. I believe that somebody did say that they are themselves lilithgaskarth, I think. Lilithgaskarth, probably. And I'm just going to search this person. It's these cells. Is it? No, that's what it is. There's a space before. There we are. We have Gage Manning. Gage Manning. Interesting person. Oh, some guy says, I'm Javak. Let's rip this band-aid off. Yes, so we will get to you next. And, you said you liked that one yourself? Alright, so we have Gage Manning. And if you'd like to follow along the chat, I have posted it. Interesting. William Gage Manning. Man born in the 1300s, early 1300s, Mr. Manning has lived through an awfully large amount of events. Not long after maturing into his Reaper status, he befriended Nicodemus and quickly became his right-hand man. And we don't know who Nicodemus is, so there's a link to Nicodemus, which is great. He later became this for Revyera, which is another person there's a link to, when she took over, and has remained such ever since. During the war between Eriwal I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And the Old Powers, which there's a link to that. Mr. Manning was a crucial member on the Eriwal side of the conflict, which I would like to learn more about Eriwal because it's not linked, even though it's right here in the sidebar, so we do know about it. Airwall, thank you. I got it. So it is linked in the sidebar. It looks like it's a religion. Our organization, belief system. It is believed that, excuse me, if not for him, the war may have seen much more brutal battles than the ones that were fought. When Solderid, I don't know how to pronounce that either, but there's Solarage. Okay, that makes sense. Solarage. Okay. When Solarage was being rebuilt by Revyera, Mr. Manning was appointed as mayor of the city, as he was the only one she trusted with the job. Gage has been performing this job for over half his life at this point. Mr. Manning also spent a good chunk of time being the guardian for his younger brother, David, as David was only a toddler when their parents were killed during the slaughter of Soldridge. David is all grown up now, but that doesn't stop Gage from still trying to parent him. So he's a reaper. While a species, being a reaper is also a full-time job, if one accepts the responsibility. Not that one gets paid, however. Dream Cartographer has to go for a bit. Have a blessed one. If you're able to come back, thank you. If not, you have a blessed day, and thanks for stopping by. Mayor of Solarage. This leaves Mr. Manning a busy man. Solarage has a massive city, after all. It can be hard to manage after such a place, but after nearly 400 years, the man has developed quite the skill for it. So he's a mayor and a reaper, which I would like to learn more about what reaper is, but there's a reaper category, but there's a multi-pass. That's okay. I know some articles are not done, but it's good that you have it linked just in case so that we can figure out what it is once the article is done. Architect. He doesn't actually have any training for this, but he likes designing buildings, so the actual architects let him pitch ideas to them. Mr. Manning has helped design most of the buildings in Soldridge and the town of Amington, Maine. And there's a link to that. There's great links to this. This is a good article because it has a lot of links to things that we don't know about. Mental trauma has from slight PTSD from seeing numerous friends and family members, including but not limited to his best friend and parents, being slain during the slaughter of Soulridge and the war following. That is sad. His motivation is he just wants what's best for people, especially for those directly under his care. Contacts and relations, Reverie Hollow, best friend, boss, partner in crime, fellow immortal, the list could go on forever. The Airwall Court, the organization that Mr. Manning works for. David Manning is his brother. His best friend is Reverie Hallow, the god of death on the Airwall pantheon, so as one might expect, that's what religion he follows. If follow could be the way to describe it. Mannerisms, a sweet-mannered and soft-spoken man. His kindness is what led him to be able to be mayor of Soulridge without objection for so long. However, as kind as Mr. Manning is, it is a well-known fact that one does not wish to ever create anger within this man, or shall they bear grave consequences. And hobbies and pets is building and design. So, yes, this is an interesting character. There is a description of the character here, even though we don't have a portrait, and that's fine. Blue eyes, dark blonde hair, white or slightly tan skin, 6 feet tall. So an interesting, it shows his ethnicity as well, and there's a multi-pass for that too, but that's fine. Thank you so much for sharing the article, and this is an interesting read. One of the things, of course, I'm going to say is to expand this sidebar, or either you know, by adding different links to things. You can add links to these characters. You can add like article blocks to characters, article blocks to places, article blocks to you know, items or whatever is mentioned here. Some guy 223 says, should I post pronunciation guide publicly? I have the link to it. What is your article again? Javak. Yes. Okay. I will get to you next, and yes, I have the link to it, so I will let you know. Thank you so much again for this Gage Manning article. That was a very interesting one, Lilith. Thank you for sharing. Let me search Javak, or Javak. I would think it was Javak. I'm not sure. I'm gonna search him now. Here we go. And I have linked that you have given me notes. So this is the notes. These are the notes. And there's some detailed notes that Javak gave me. And I appreciate this detailed pronunciation guide. I will link that as well. And we're going to put that in the chat, as well as the article. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to post that now. All right, so there is a big quote in the chat now. The first link is to the article. The second link is to the pronunciation guide, which Javak oh so kindly provided, and I appreciate that because some things may be hard to pronounce, and they did appreciate that we might need help in pronouncing them. So that was very considerate. Sextana, Hadriana, Raruos, I believe. Sextana, Hadriana, Raruos. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Harlan I says, Yahoy, hello. I appreciate you joining. Empress Sextana Hadriana Raruos was an alien empress who served in the late imperial period and was the foundational leader of the Raruos dynasty, and is credited for bringing an end to the 50-year crisis that nearly brought about the end of the Alien Empire, which I will see if it's alien. It's like alien? Yes. Aelin. Or Aelin. Aelin. Okay. She was a capable military leader and an exceptionally gifted administrator. Her reforms did stabilize the Aelin Empire and right its economy after at least a century of decline. And because of this, she, in many Aelin social circles, is regarded as one of the greatest rulers in Aelin history. Modern scholarship has made this image somewhat more controversial, however, as some have criticized her reforms of the bureaucracy and foundation of the and there should be there it is. Exarchate system as leading to the collapse of the empire after the death of Alexios III. So this is quite a long article, but it's very, 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 very interesting and very detailed. This sidebar has a nice picture. The sidebar is filled out with all kinds of information about the character, which is nice. We can skim a bit through personal history. Born in the town of Tosibilis in EA 442 during the 50 Years of Crisis. Her family was an ancient noble house that once ruled the local city-state until the establishment of the Iliosi Republic, and that had long since fallen out of prominence after the formation of the Aeolian Empire. She was the sixth child of her parents and thus was largely neglected by them, despite the auspicious sign of a celestial planet marking that she bore. Instead, a young Hadriana was educated by the head of the family's bodyguards. Hadriana proved an adept fighter, becoming a skilled warrior by the time she had become an adult, and when she had reached the age of maturity, left her home to pursue a career as a mercenary, helping the Empire fight several hosts of raiders from Huria. Alright, she rose to the ranks of mercenary, given military command. So another person became emperor, and she seized her moment. At the end of 471, Hadriana and a cadre of military officers from Apepsos overthrew Heraclius and executed him the following day. I know there's pronunciations over here. Seeking to finally put an end to the political infighting racking the upper echelons of the empire, Hadriana spent the rest of the year enacting a bloody purge of all high-ranking officials that were not loyal to her or her allies, effectively putting an end to the endless series of coups and assassinations that had ravaged the empire for 50 years. So she said enough is enough, and she took over. So the next phase was a series of military reforms. She established the Akrite? Not sure if there's a... Yes. Akrite. Yep, I was right. A group of semi-professional soldiers that were responsible for their own equipment and who would be paid by the... that one was pronounced as well. Escurate, instead of directly by the Empire, in exchange for being required to perform relatively lighter duties. Under this new system, half of the armor was pre-designated Akrite, while another, now referred to as Pinandroi, was retained as professional soldiers. Despite some issues concerning the loyalty of territorial armies, the new system proved effective at reducing strain on the Empire's economy, and eventually, by the 390s, the Empire armies had been reformed into a new, more stable state. So, I know that, let's see, this is... I see the calendar's a bit strange. So I see it's like, there's two different kinds of dates, it seems. Oh, you made a mistake, actually. It's okay. So, it's confusing because there's like 3 digits here and 3 digits here. But yet, this shows 4 digits here and 4 digits here, and these digits don't match up with the lifespan of the date of birth and the date of death. So it's just a bit confusing, but of course it's a summer camp article, and things would be would always need to be cleaned up. I would just suggest to look at these dates because some of them are kind of weird, and it seems like it's going backwards and going forwards, and I don't know what's happening. But that always happens when you have your own dates and you have your own, like, especially if you have a world timeline that's different from Earth timeline, then things can get murky. But you just have to try to be conscious of that. And yeah, so that was an interesting article. I would say also, in addition to the years that are kind of mixed up, I would add little things into the sidebar to extend them down. And I would, instead of having just pronunciations in a different document, which I know you didn't want to edit the article because it's not yet time to edit articles, I would suggest that once the edit period is over, we can take these maybe and put them in like the article somehow, either in parentheses next to it or in a tooltip if you have CSS access, or you can just literally link something like this in the sidebar so that people can reference it without having to like go back and forth from different documents. Some guy says that's an account of the world's dating system being different than the culturally specific one, I think. Okay, I got it. So yeah, dates can get murky. But thank you so much for sharing this article. Very interesting. And I do see that the character portrait is credited. And you did make this. Maybe it was from Artbreeder, not sure. If you did this by hand, that would be very impressive. But no matter, it is impressive, and this is a nice article. Thank you for sharing. And I appreciate you taking the time to give those notes as well. Let's see who else is here. Somebody else did mention that they are in here. If you have if you're still present and you would like me to read your article, please let me know. Some guy says, I think others have done better, but it is an honor to even be considered. No, it's fine. Everybody has their own style, and everybody has their own ability that they were able to do during this short summer camp period. And I think your article looks really neat, and you know, considering all that had to be done. And it's not at all one of those, your article was like, even compared to my articles, some of them were kind of horrible. There's no art, there was no formatting, there was hardly anything to even learn about. Your article was very detailed, and it had a lot of story to it, and it was very informative, and it had a nice layout. The page was clean, and I would just suggest the sidebar thing because that's just a pet peeve of mine, but I didn't even do that to all of my articles because I did not have time. But anyways, as I said, that was a great one, and it was nice to read that. Thank you so much. Harlan O says hi there. If you'd like to read mine, that'd be great. Yes, so please put your World Envoy username in the chat. If it is the same as your Twitch username, let me know. And I will search it on the spreadsheet and make sure that I pull up your Great Leader article. Okay. Callyxtus is here, and we are going to put in the chat. Da-da. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that username. I will get you next. If you would like to read along, please do. Click the link in the chat, and we will get started. Asurlan I, I'm thinking? If I am not pronouncing it correctly, please let me know. Asurlan I, aka the Great. Asurlan I is perhaps the most famous and greatest of the Cirrus emperors. Through his military campaigns and reforms, he led the Cirrus Empire to the zenith of its power. For the Cirrus, Asurlan I is the ideal ruler. Fair in rule, honorable towards its enemies, a brave warrior, a cultivated man, and a poet. He embodies the ideals of monarchy in the Cirrus world that have been guiding the Cirrus state since its foundation and even before. And there's a picture here, and then there's another picture here, a full picture, and this is courtesy of Hero Forge, a nice character creation editor. Oh, I see the picture has finally loaded. I was like, that was a bit weird, but there was a full picture there. And we have the little sidebar here, which is nice. And then we have a drawing in this article. So these are article blocks, as I was kind of saying to some of you guys. Article blocks are links to the articles, but instead of it just being just like a single word like this, that is so small, you can fill up your sidebar using these big article blocks that are big and beautiful, and they have, you know, they will show the art and they will show your little excerpt too. So that's just kind of lots of filler that you can use for your sidebar. And I see this article is quite long, so I might skim through it, but the sidebar still is not the same length of the article, but that's okay, especially when there's a lot in this article. You have to either I've been talking about like the sticky sidebar, and I do need to send, somebody asked me for the CSS for the sticky sidebar, and I will send that out as well. I forgot about that, but I can show you that again. I'm going to this just so that you can see what I mean by sticky sidebar. So this page is long, but when I'm scrolling down, the sidebar stays in its place because there's CSS called sticky sidebar, where it doesn't let you not see that the sidebar is not there, so that there's not just a big naked space there. And that's only able to happen sometimes, and I understand that some people don't have access to the CSS, or they are on a free account or whatever. It's fine. This is a nice article, and you can always fill up the sidebar with other things like article blocks, quotes, pictures, and other things like that. But if it's just entirely too long and you'd rather just, you know, keep that sidebar shorter, you can use the sticky sidebar. We can skim through a bit. Early life, Asurlan, which you said that I did pronounce it correctly. Great. Ascended to the throne in 251 AP, age 16, after a brief civil war and the death of his father, Andrash II. He appeased the nomads who previously sacked the frontiers, marrying the daughter of the Farai Kagan, Lucy. He claimed the throne. Let's see, rest of his reign. After these campaigns, the Cirrus Empire became fabulously wealthy and powerful. With Asurlan I, the empire reached its greatest extension and was at the peak of its power. Asurlan then dedicated their efforts to improve the lives of their subjects. First, he began a huge construction program that included his famous The Palace of the Thousand Columns, which there's a link to that, which is great. So the so-called Asurlan Channel in southern Syria, who connected the southern coast and the pillars of Toshia with the river Tahir and the capital of Sakoramish. Not sure how to pronounce that, but there's links to it, which is great. And there's no pronunciation on these, but it's okay. Yep. You said, I'm sorry for the article. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You really don't have to apologize for that. It's great that you were able to get all these words out. I just apologize to you for skimming over it a bit because I do have some things to do. So I do have to skim sometimes. I apologize. But yes, that's why I put the link in the chat so that you guys can go and read through the whole thing on your own time if you'd like to. So let's see. Asurlan suddenly died, and I see there's a slight error. There's suddenly instead of suddenly. In 298 AP, loved by his people because of their military exploits and for its social reforms and building programs that improved the lives of millions of Cirrus. His body was carried in a procession from the Palace of the Thousand Columns through the streets of Sakuramish to the royal necropolis of Festan, where, according to his will, he wanted to be buried alongside the great legendary kings of the past, being until date the only Cirrus emperor to be buried there. His successor and son declared him a god and created a holiday and festival in his honor. The crown of Arsakes Arsakes became the Cirrus royal crown until it was lost with the downfall of the Sitkid dynasty, and 3 centuries later. From the moment of his deficiation onwards, some miracles like battles against the enemies of the Cirrus and also miracles related to his cape and sword have been attributed to Asurlan himself. A local legend says that Asurlan's sword, called Starfire, there's something I cannot pronounce again, sets itself on fire during the festival of the goddess Yori, the divine ancestor of the Cirrus imperial family and its people. So this is another interesting character. Some guy says, I love the Chinese and or Korean inspired setting. Yes, it does seem like it is inspired by some Asian cultures, and that is an interesting touch. And like I said, some of these words might be some foreign language words that are not English, and I'm apologizing if I'm butchering those, but do remember that if the article is written in English, it's good to have a handy tip of pronunciation for the words in English so that people who are not familiar with the other words, either they be made up words, names, or actual words in foreign language, they are able to, read the article without getting taken out of the world. Virtues and personalities, he was a brave man. He wasn't the kind of ruler that throws himself into battles like others did. He was more of a strategist, but when the situation required, he didn't hesitate to fight alongside his men. He even led rescuing parties in order to save his friends or champions of his army that had become prisoners. He was kind with his friends and family. He was a loving husband and father. He was also kind with his subjects, and one of the few emperors who exited the imperial palace, exited the imperial palace and walked through the streets of the capital. That's interesting. He was more personable than, I guess, most nobles who just stay up in their palace. So yes, this is an interesting character. Once again, thank you for sharing. It's a very detailed article. I do see some grammar errors and some spelling errors, but that's fine, to be expected. We're rushing through summer camp, typing quickly 300 words or more, and I know that this is way more than 300 words. I see you said this Cirrus Empire is a mixture of ancient Persia, China, and feudal Japan. Sorry, I'll add the pronunciations in the future. No need to apologize at all. These are just suggestions. You don't even have to add them if you don't want to, but it's helpful to add them in tooltips and stuff like that so that people can, be fully immersed in your world. Thank you for reading it, says Dave Aurelius, and thank you for sharing it. I feel like there was another person that said something in the chat. Oh, harldawg. Harldawg? Not sure how to pronounce that, but it is another world Anvilite. Here we are. I will put this in chat so you guys can read along. Harldawg. Okay. Thought so. And this is the link to the article. Corinne Cotnor-Grey. Her Highness Corinne Forsythia Grey Cotnor. known in her time as the most beautiful woman ever born, a title she steadfastly refused to bear. This high queen and notable scholar was born amidst the clans and snow of the far north. She grew in stature and prominence as she grew in size, bringing a childlike quest for knowledge into every single one of her pursuits. By the time she reached her age of quickening, she had surpassed her people in every way possible. They had no math, and only the most basic runic writings was a quandary. Only the most basic runic writings. It was a quandary her father would drink about with his friends, and also with his acquaintances. Her father, Oba, was not an intelligent man. He was smart enough to know his daughter was beyond him, and that she deserved much more than he would be able to provide, until one day he met an old man while he sat pondering his dilemma. How would he get his daughter the Edmukathingi he kept hearing she needed? Which I believe that's probably an intentional thing that he did not know what it was called. The wise ones all told him her growth would be as stunted as a mule deer's. Well, this has some funny, interesting wording here. That was a technical term they used, according to him. A technical term they used. So let's see. There's a lot going on in this article, and it seems that this is a story. It's all story. And this is a lengthy article, very detailed, very detailed. So,
Obligatory associate.
oh, thank you so much for following. I see it's TJ here. Hello. Thank you for joining. So, one of the things that I will suggest is up here, there's a lot of story. So I would suggest maybe breaking it up a bit, because this can be considered a word wall for a moment, because like there's so many words here, and it's not really broken up. So like how this is here and then it's broken up from this, that's nice. We can also break it up more a bit, like with paragraphs. This is just a suggestion. And then maybe putting it in like a quote box or something like that, so that we can know that this is like a little introduction story. And then the rest of it is, I see, like just regular Wikipedia style information about the character. So if you don't mind me skimming a bit, I can skim through. She was fantastic. She was in fantastic physical condition until the day she died. Her legs were very long. She wore specially cut dresses to lessen the allure. She was graceful, deft, and confident. Her eyes were set a hair too wide, and were just a touch too large, or so she said. Others would have told you it was striking. This is really interesting. The descriptions are nice. And I see how she doesn't necessarily see herself as beautiful, but everybody else thought she was beautiful. Her legs were a little too long, which she hated, but her husband was totally down with. He considered himself the luckiest guy he had ever met. That's interesting. So I know that this is like, this article has a touch of character to it. Like there's somebody telling you a story, and it feels more like, you know, comfortable, instead of it being like, this is a fact article. This is hair color, eye color, height, like that. I like those kind of personal articles that feel like somebody's just talking to you and telling you about the person. And so this is a very nice article. Like I said, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just adding suggestions. When I do see that the sidebar is quite short, but as I said, you could either use the sticky sidebar, or you can fill up the sidebar with different things, but I know that this is very long. It's too long to fill up. I mean, it's not too long to fill up, but you will need a lot of art and a lot of different, you know, article blocks and stuff to fill that up. But it's not impossible at all. Thank you so much again for sharing this article. I'm trying not to skip too much because there's a lot of cool things here I see. But it's just that I know this whole story in the beginning. That's the main point where I feel like it needs to be broken up a bit. If even maybe you could add the story at the end in a full width footer. But I know you kind of want that story to be an introduction to the character. But it's quite long. Sometimes also I've seen people pepper in story throughout like their descriptions of them. So let's see what else. She graduated valedictorian from the Bardic College campus and completed her grad school work in the Order of Ogma's Library in Grainer. There's a list, there's a link to that and a little tooltip. The best shipyards in the world, they say themselves, which is funny. I see that this world and this article has a little kick to it, like a little comedy bit to it, and that's really nice. It makes things very interesting. So, mental trauma, it says, as much as her father tried, her childhood was pretty traumatic. Being the smartest kid in the group paints a target on one's back specifically for bullies. So, yeah, she was bullied because she was quite intelligent. Bullying of any kind could send her into a rage, especially if she had been drinking. She was literally on a constant quest for knowledge until the day she died. She was a terrible dancer, even though as High Queen, it was required of her pretty often. She loved to play the dulcimer, but was honest enough with herself never to do it in public. She was the greatest chess player Grandmaster Vittorio ever trained, and rode a horse like she was born in the saddle. Interesting. And there's stars there, so I wonder what the stars are. There's lots of nice there's lots of nice interesting little quirks and personality traits mentioned about the characters. There's a wealth of information about the character. I can tell this is a very detailed character that you know a lot about. And thank you so much for sharing this. Like I said, you will have to go and click that link in the chat and read more about it on your own time because there's just so much here. But I appreciate this character and I appreciate you sharing. That was a very nice one to go over. I see that Wild Zoo Guy has redeemed a someone say something, which is funny. That is a little thing that you can buy to make someone say a random thing, and I will activate that in one moment. Let me see. Harlan O says thank you so much, I really appreciate it. TJ says great article, thank you for stopping by, TJ. I will get to you as well. Let's see. Okay. If you are here and you would like me to read your article, I'm going to stay on for about probably 20 more minutes, so please do put your World Anvil username in the chat so that I can get to you. In the meantime, I will be right back. I'm going to give you a right back screen because, yeah, I have to do the thing. I'll be right back. Hello, back again. So, thank you so much, Wild Zoo Guy, for redeeming a thing. And unfortunately, I was not prepared for you to do that. So now I have found something that I can play. So without further ado, here is something that is someone saying something.
No. No. No!
Okay. So there we go. If you heard someone saying no, thank you, Wild Zoo Guy, for redeeming that random someone say something. And that was him saying no, because he didn't want to say anything. But he had to do it anyway. A special shout out again to John McNally for voicing someone. So, next, what were we doing? Wild Zujai just derailed the stream for a second. But thank you. I always appreciate you using those little wisps so that you can redeem little things. Yes, hijacking the stream. Basically, if you click it, it will let you choose 3 different things that I can do. I will randomly go read a story of mine, I think. I might just go play a game. Or there's something else that I can do. But if you click it, it will have 3 different choices, and you can respond with 1, 2, or 3, whichever thing you want, to hijack the stream and make me totally stop whatever the stream is about and do something else. So yes, as was mentioned last night, some of these things are too low in price, people were telling me, because like anybody could just buy them quickly. But I wanted them to be low in price to start because I've just become affiliate and it is a celebration, and I will raise the prices soon. But thank you so much to everybody who is redeeming things already, and I just appreciate you guys so much. Who's next? TJ. Thank you for congratulating me on becoming affiliate. I could not have done it without everyone, all the awesome people who have been subscribing and following me and everything. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out in the chat with me and checking out my streams. I could not do it without you guys, so thank you. Here is TJ's article. Orlon Gantiel, I believe. I don't know if that is how I pronounce it, but please do tell me if I'm wrong. One of the things that I will say is TJ has some interesting articles. And I'm going to wait, I did the wrong thing. There we go. I'm going to disable graphic content just for now. And I can disable spoilers as well, because I don't know who will be watching this stream. And I don't want to spoil anything, because TJ, I know that you are writing and playing games and stuff like that, and you might not want all the secrets revealed. Yes. Thank you. I personally have them checked, so if you would like to click that link and go see the graphic content and see the spoilers, you can. But for now, I am just keeping those things hidden. And this is a nice, neat article. Melior, is it? It has an interesting color scheme. Orlon Gantiel is a renowned quarterstaff instructor and lover of spicy food. Interesting. Rough around the edges, Orlon is quite quiet, but well-built. Orlon is a quiet, well-built fawn, and there's a link to what a fawn is, who stands proudly yet moves with a fighter's grace. He can be found out in the front courtyard of the Kin Martial Arts Academy, which there's a link to what that is, and the tooltip, which I love. Martial Academy, where he teaches the quarterstaff all day long. Many folks find an excuse to stop by on their work breaks to watch his students perform incredible feats of strength, and some even place verbal bets on sparring outcomes, or at least that's what they say. They definitely aren't waiting for him to work up a sweat and continue the session in just his baggy dark green breeches. I think that people think that this guy is quite hot and they just want to watch him work out. That's my opinion. Orlon's muscular upper body is transcribed with scars of varying origins, which spark admiration and curiosity among many. One tale is known to all, though. His left antler is completely snapped in half from the very first quarterstaff tournament he fought in when he was 20. He won the match, but let his opponent take home the trophy in favor of keeping his own cracked memento, which he displays at home on his mantle. At the end of hard day's training, Orlon thoroughly enjoys dining with his friends. He loves hot, spicy food and can handle the fieriest flavors that the city has to offer. So he has a lot of spicy tastes. A broken start. Orlon was born in Cankos on the west coast of Anvil, which TJ throws in Anvil and stuff like that into the world for a nod to World Anvil, which is cool. 2 months after the rupture, he learned to crawl in the dust of the apocalyptic chaos, and his parents were clueless on how to raise him and his 2 brothers in such a dangerous, changing time. Mostly fending for themselves, he and his siblings learned to exchange errands and physical labor for knowledge and education from injured and elderly folk of their home city, Dulacest. He got his first job working as a stable boy and worked hard for his coins. That's a funny way to spell it. It seems like a video game currency. And every night he counted them and dreamt of a better life. As the years went by and into early adulthood, his brothers enrolled in the Navy and set sail for their futures. His parents divorced and went their separate ways too, and at age 19 he was left to decide his own path. With what little savings he had amassed, he paid for half a voyage up front and the rest in labor on a ship heading to Baloo on the other side of the continent. Arriving in the capital city, Kin, Orlon continued paying off his debt at the docks, working long days loading and unloading heavy cargo from the ships. He enjoyed the hard work and soon built up an admirable physique, and his new friends invited him to join their fighting club and try his hand with a quarterstaff. Something about the firmness of the smooth wooden shaft in his hands lit a fire in him, and he began to take his training seriously in order to fight in tournaments for prize money. Even with the loss of half an antler in his first victory, the thrill of the fight made him feel alive. Working less at the docks and more at the Martial Academy, Orlon gained a reputation for being undefeatable, and he fortunately let the title go. Unfortunately let the title go to his head. He began to fight in private clubs, daring brawls with questionable standards. With a foolish and pricey wager gone wrong, he was blackmailed into fighting a mixed weapons cage tournament against a lithe woman with a sleek rapier. His arrogance blinded him from grasping the extent of her range, and within seconds she lunged and cut deep into his bicep. His whole world clattered to the sound of his quarterstaff on the floor, and the roaring crowd faded into a muffled murmur as he passed out. He awoke in the infirmary of an Artgalles temple, barely able to move enough to look down at his left arm, puckered and sewn up like a butcher's joint. He wept. Oh man, his career must have been over at that point. Fawn Reborn. The Artgalles cared for Orlon and dressed his wound and continued to support him after his stitches were removed. The cut was deep and took a long time to heal. Orlon lamented at his loss of strength, dignity, and the ability to train again. He sank deep into depression over his weakness for more than a year, but still the Artgalles checked in on him and supported him through his struggles without judgment. He opened up to their kindness and lowered the barriers of his past, sharing painful memories and learning new valuable lessons in the healing process. Without being prompted to, Orlon asked to join the path of Arterism and was welcomed with warmth. Through his newfound faith, he was able to process his pain, forgive his past, and learned how to trust people again. He resumed his training and focused on supporting disadvantaged youths to keep them out of trouble. his strength regained and his reputation grew in a positive light. Many of the children asked him if they could join the academy, and with so many new recruits, he soon rose to the title of lead instructor at the Ken Martial Academy, where he still teaches the quarterstaff to this day. So this was an interesting character. And yes, the sidebar is very even. So I appreciate this article. It told a nice story. It told his height, it told his low point, and it told how he recovered. This is good art too, which I believe is from Hero Forge and Art Breeder, it says, because I was like, that is a bit too realistic for Hero Forge. But yes, that was a nice combo. Some guy says, love it. Spicy food is the greatest. Hands down. Best article right there. Interesting way to take it. But yes, thank you so much, TJ, for sharing this with us. And like I said, you can also see more secrets and spoilers and graphic content by clicking the link and selecting the different subscriber groups. That's another thing. If you are a I think it's Grandmaster and above, maybe a Sage and above, not sure. But if you are one of the paid members, you can have subscriber groups that can show different things depending on what level they are at. So this is a great, so just in case you have like content that may not be family friendly and stuff like that in your article, you can still have it there, but you can tell people that to check this, you can see it, but if you don't want to see it, don't check it. Hero Forge Plus Art Breeder, does that mean you uploaded Hero Forge to Art Breeder and use that as a base? Says Vasemasi. And TJ says, I created the base in Hero Forge, then photoshopped a face using Art Breeder onto the Hero Forge. So yep, that's what it seems like. So if you don't know about either Art Breeder or Hero Forge, you would just think this was like all together created. But I see it's interesting how he did it. He just probably had a character without that kind of face at all on Hero Forge, and he just used the Art Breeder head and he just taped it over, I think. But that was still a very creative thing. That was interesting to do. And when I saw it first, I knew it was Hero Forge, but then I didn't realize that the face was like more realistic. And I was like, wait, that face is more realistic? That's not Hero Forge. Vasemasi says, I love all this AI art stuff. Yes, AI art is very interesting indeed. Some guy says it's getting really quite good these days. Yes, it has some interesting art I've seen. So, I believe that there is somebody else in the chat. Who else in the chat needed me to read their article? Please do comment your username. I do not see it anymore. I need to have a better way of doing this. There has to be some kind of queue that you can enter. Maybe I can make it where you can redeem channel points to put your name in the list or something, because I keep trying to scroll back and can't see it. So if you are still here and you did not get your article read yet, please do post in the chat. If you've been lurking in the World Anvil Discord, you may be aware of the increasing spread of Midjourney addiction. Yes. Well, even not in the Discord, I've seen several articles that I've been reading. Midjourney. Credits to Midjourney. I'm like, everybody's using Midjourney. And this was like even before summer camp, and not just the Great Leader articles. Articles I've read just says Midjourney, and at first I didn't know what Midjourney was. And everything just looked like stained glass and stuff, and it looked really cute. But I was like, this must be a new AI art thing. So yeah, everybody's jumping in on the AI art. There's Midjourney, there's Wombo, I think, AI. Then there's another one too. They've been getting really creative. Yeah. Sometimes AI art can get kind of weird. Sometimes it's really cool. So last call, everybody. If you are in the chat and I did not go over your article, please do post your World Amble username right now. If not, thank you so much for joining, and I plan to go on live again at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's 12 hours after this stream just started, back at 8 o'clock. Which means it's about 10 hours, I believe. Yes, in about 10 hours from now, I plan on streaming again for more articles. So thank you guys so much to everybody who joined, everybody who followed. Thank you to those who rated me, and thank you to those who redeemed cool, funny wisps and got fun things to happen. I appreciate all the people also who have written these articles and who shared them and gave me permission to read them.
Associate.
Another one. Thank you for following me. I appreciate that. And you guys have a blessed and wonderful, happy time zone wherever you may be. And hopefully I will see you again soon. Thank you again for joining me, guys. Have a blessed one and much success. All right. Bye-bye.